Anyway, Theo Usherwood's here. Very good morning to you.
Great to be
Front
with you.
page of The Sun has gone with this ka-ching story, which I must confess I don't really understand. And apparently millions of drivers who unwittingly paid commission on dodgy car deals can each claim back an average of £700, according to the financial watchdog. So that's good news, I guess, if you're going to be able to do that. But if you are going to be able to do it, do let us know how to do it, because I'm not sure. I mean, I don't even know if I'm, liable for this. Have you any idea if you bought a car with dodgy financing?
No. I've generally bought my cars outright.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's if you buy on a leasehold agreement or whatever. And there's a commission that's paid.
Okay.
Between the
because I mean I tend to lease cars. I bought the current car I've got.
You should check it out.
But I've tended to lease them in the past. I keep getting phone calls from people in India going, we can reclaim some money for you on the diesel recompensation scheme or something. I'm like, get lost. Stop calling me.
I think you should. This one might be. This one might be.
Okay. 700 quid.
700 quid, not to be sniffed at.
Decent lunch.
It's not actually.
Or two. Sorry.
So yeah, no, for you, and I imagine many people tuning in today. 700 quid, not to be sniffed at. You have to obviously make the claim.
Well, listen, in this day and age, I would promise you, anything coming in the other way is actually welcome. Because so much is going out. People. We did a story the other day. Somebody sent it to me on Twitter that Marks and Spencer's have got a turkey that they're selling, which comes with the giblets, not all the trimmings, by the way. 150 quid. I'm not joking. £150 for a turkey.
£150 for a turkey.
For a turkey.
Fresh turkey or frozen?
Fresh turkey, sort of hand raised, very organic, and apparently, beautifully, put together and wrapped, lovely, prepared in great, but nothing extra apart from some giblets that you would, obviously make gravy from.
But the turkey's cheap.
Well,
turkeys are cheap.
You say that.
Cheap, like it's not an expensive meat. 150 quid.
150 quid. Marks and Spencer's top of the range organic turkey for Christmas. I was in Selfridges yesterday, right? This Christmas shop is open. Yeah. They've got Christmas trees up.
Biggest rip-off in Selfridges. Right.
What is the biggest rip-off?
I don't know what you were going to tell me.
I wasn't going to say. No, I know. I fell upon. I had to go into the basement to find something, and I just and there's the Christmas shop, and there's the wine section where they had some of the biggest bottles of wine you've ever seen, and they had a giant bottle of Whispering Angel, which I quite like. And it's about 600 quid or something. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't know who's buying this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so big you couldn't even carry it home.
Sort of Jeroboam.
Yeah, Jeroboam.
I always thought Whispering. It's a rosé, isn't it? My wife likes it.
Yeah.
All used to like it.
Yeah.
And it's
a bit overpriced, to be fair. It's about 20 quid a bottle, generally speaking. But I mean, these are like sort of 6 bottles worth in one bottle. Right. How do you get that in the fridge? Once you've got your £150 turkey. Anyway, sorry to start off on that.
Those chest fridges.
On that note, yeah, absolutely right. Let's go with Keir Starmer this morning, because he's on his way. Well, he's in India now. He's taken a load of business people with him. He actually did this on the way out there on a plane. Have a look.
This is the Prime Minister. I'm in the cockpit, and a very warm welcome to BA Flight 9100 to Mumbai. It's really fantastic to have you all on board. This is the biggest trade mission to India that the UK has ever sent. So I'm much looking forward to working with you as we explore all of the opportunities and take full advantage of the opportunities in our new free trade agreement. So safe flight, everybody. Enjoy the flight, and I'll give you further information once I've taken off. Thank you.
Excellent. Fantastic. A natural. Did you say when I take off?
Yes. It's just so weird, isn't he? And they say he's a natural. He's not a natural at all. He's telling people to have a safe flight. What? He's in the cockpit?
I think he could give up his day job.
What, to become a pilot?
Or just an announcer.
If Keir Starmer was flying your plane, I think I'd get off. I'd be like, sorry, I don't want to fly with this bloke.
Stop.
He's so accident prone, I'm frightened the plane might crash.
Yeah, he's on his trade mission. It sticks in the craw. I read the sort of bump on it, and he spent the whole trip telling journalists on the flight over that this is what he's absolutely not negotiating visas.
Right.
There's going to be no.
Yeah, he's not going to give any more visas out.
No more visas. No more visas.
More.
Absolutely not going to happen. So why is he travelling with so many university vice chancellors?
Yeah, but also, why is he going to India when he's already told us that he's done a trade deal with India. You know, one of the things they boast about is we've done 3 trade deals. You know, India, America, and what's the third one? Canada? Is it Canada?
India, America. Goodness me, that's how big it was.
Yeah, I think it is Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, I mean, and again, the American deal isn't done. The Canadian deal doesn't really matter with row beans, and the Indian deal is apparently one which allows people from India to come here and employ people from India on beneficial tax rates. So it's actually not really helping Britain, and it's not creating jobs for Britain. And if you say he had a load of vice-chancellors with him, then presumably he's going to offer a load more people the opportunity to come to university here.
You think so? And there's also a story, just by the way, there's also a story about, you know, the British steel industry is about to collapse.
Well,
because the European Union's putting on 50% tariffs.
I saw that. And where are all the lefties complaining about tariffs? Because remember when Donald Trump was putting tariffs on and everyone was going, he's going to wreck the economy of the world, he's going to absolutely screw everything. The EU puts them on, and the EU has always put them on, by the way, and that's what the Americans have said, and nobody says a word.
And it's 80% of our steel exports go to the European Union. And Keir Starmer was trying to, you know, he's always tried to sort of bridge this gap between, you know, the United States on the one hand and Europe on the other.
Yeah.
And he's literally fallen straight between two stools on this.
Well, did he not say at one point he was building a bridge between the two places, and he felt that he was the man in the middle that could do that, so he's built a bridge from America to the EU, and apparently the bridge has collapsed and he's fallen down into the river.
And he's...
And what a surprise. Yeah, bang. Thanks, Keir. Yeah.
But he has...
Fixing the foundations of the bridge seems to have fallen down.
At the bottom of the river, at the bottom of the ravine, but he's you know, he didn't get the trade deal on the. He got the only place he got the trade deal when it comes to the United States was in the car manufacturing, and then Jaguar Land Rover was hacked by.
Well, then they sort of collapsed from within.
and then
they're still not making any cars, by the way.
But
haven't made a car for about 3 months. It's great.
I thought they.
It's brilliant. You know, first of all, they kiboshed their own brand by doing away with the growler, as we call it, and then creating these new ridiculous sort of square block-looking electric cars in pink. And then they do the trans ad, where it's like even Elon Musk said, "Are you guys still making cars?" You know, because had always said, "Choose life" or something. You know, and some bloke in a dress dancing around, and you go, well, that's not really the ad we're looking for a Jaguar, actually. No. You know.
It's very un-Jaguar-like.
So they've made no cars for like 2 or 3 months.
But on the steel side of things, we never got the deal on the steel.
No.
Trump didn't back down on the steel.
No, so there's still tariffs applicable to our steel going into America, and now the Europeans are doing the same thing.
Yeah, and the Europeans are we've already, by the way, negotiated.
I thought we had a great deal with Europe because Keir Starmer was very friendly with them.
But we've already negotiated. We've already done a negotiation with the Youth Mobility Scheme on fishing rights. It's just a story on the Telegraph. We've already done that negotiation. So presumably, if we want a carve out, which is like special treatment on those 50% tariffs, we're going to have to go back and give the Europeans even more.
Yeah. Well, the Telegraph story says the European Union is threatening Britain's steel industry with tariffs of up to 50% in a dispute that could derail Sir Keir Starmer's attempts to reset relations with Brussels. I thought he was in like Flynn with them. I thought they loved him. I thought he loved them. I thought it was all sweetness and light. Apparently not.
No, but they always do this, Mike. They always, like, when you negotiate...
This is why we left the European Union, because they're scumbags. They treat us like dirt. When we were in it, they treated us like dirt. Now that we've left it, they treat us like dirt. They're not interested in Britain. They're interested in their own petty little sort of, you know, world that they occupy, and they don't like Britain. It's the end. That's it.
But these are proper manufacturing jobs.
Yeah.
You know,
actual jobs.
Actual jobs for people in...
By the way, what about the fake solicitor, Jonathan Reynolds? Isn't he supposed to be in charge of British Steel?
He's moved on, hasn't he?
Has he? Who's in charge of it now, then?
It's Business Secretary is Peter Carr.
Peter Carr. So Peter Carr's now in charge, the dyslexic, in charge of British Leets, as it's now known. I'm not allowed to make fun of people with dyslexia, am I?
I think it's...
British Leets. I like that. It's just a term.
British
Leets, L-E-E-T-S. It's British Steel, you know, reversed.
Oh, right, backwards. Oh, well, he's dyslexic. Sorry.
Do you not get? Come
on.
Come on.
Sorry. I don't think his dyslexia will be any barrier to.
No, he's just stupid. I mean, that's the main barrier to his success is that he's an idiot. Let's have a look at Rachel Reeves saving British Steel.
from all the people in Scunthorpe and the steelworks, they're so grateful. They really, really are. Thank you very much. Firstly, I'd like to thank every department of the government for having our back, because without that, we wouldn't be here. Come June, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for yourselves. So we really, really appreciate it.
Well, actually, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the workers. We were able to step in at the weekend and save steel here in Scunthorpe, but only because we were sure there was something to save. So we're really grateful to you, and the country's really grateful.
I'm smiling. I'm very grateful.
We're very grateful to each other. It is really, really important that we keep what you're doing going here, and especially preserve the unique things about what you do at Scunthorpe. When we're doing big projects like investment in rail, third runway at Heathrow, we just signed off this new theme park down in Bedfordshire last week. We want British steel to be used for British construction, and as a government, with the changes we're making, we're confident that will be able to happen. Because
Sorry, I'm smiling. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I am as well.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So that was them saving British steel. Now, according to, again, the Telegraph, this problem from the European Union deals a fresh blow to the Prime Minister's push to revitalise British industry after the country's steel plants and car makers were hammered by Donald Trump's tariffs. Now, it turns out Donald Trump's tariffs were one thing, right? But we only sell 7% of steel to the US. We sell 78% of our steel to the EU, right? Around 1.9 million tonnes. And it's going to be hit with a 50% tariff, which means that it's potentially devastating for the steel industry, and basically it's a huge embarrassment for the Prime Minister.
It's vindictive.
What a plonker!
It's vindictive because, of course, the reason the EU has imposed this is to prevent Chinese dumping. Yeah, right, that's the reason. But that doesn't preclude them from accepting British steel into the European Union to say, well, actually, we could just, the EU could easily give us a freebie and say, actually, we're just going to include you with this, and they don't want it.
No. I mean, so once again, Starmer has had his pants pulled down, basically, by anyone who knows that he's completely weak and useless and hopeless, because they know that he's got nothing to do. He can't come back with anything. He's got no sort of skin in the game. He can't suddenly go, well, if you do that, we'll do this. No, because he's already proved himself to be sort of lying down in front of them, supplicant, going, do whatever you want to me. I just want to be back in the gang. It's embarrassing. He's literally given the country away to the European Union. He's now giving it away to India while he's over there. And he's given it away to China on the defence front and on domestic sort of spying front, because he has no cojones. The guy's completely useless.
You would think that after Emmanuel Macron was afforded a state visit back in July to this country, that it would take one phone call from the Prime Minister to say, come on, seriously, this isn't, we're supposed to be cooperating, we're supposed to be friends and allies, sort this out for us. And Macron is, whilst he is deeply unpopular within his country, he's central to the European project, and you would think that he could then just liaise with Ursula von der Leyen and sort it.
But this is the thing.
Haven't done it.
Yeah, but we're all supposed to be great mates with Europe. Starmer's hugging them, he's got his arms around them all, and they're all literally shafting him. I mean, it's like, best of the devil they are literally shafting him.
Well, it's worse. I mean, they're shafting those workers in Scunthorpe from that video you played of, them thinking that Rachel Reeves had done.
They're going, if it wasn't for the government stepping in, we'd be finished. Well, maybe now you are finished because the government stepped in. It hasn't worked. Absolutely ridiculous. We're going to talk about a great many other stories this morning. This one from Sean in Gloucester. You can tell there's some awkward questions for Keir Starmer to answer. He's scarpered and he's nowhere to be found. They don't know what they're doing. It's true. He's gone off to India in the meantime, not answering. And also, I don't know if I'm wrong here, but did he appear at any kind of vigil yesterday? That's pretty appalling, isn't it? October the 7th, his wife is Jewish. By that token, his children are Jewish. He says that he's got extended family in Israel because he said it to Donald Trump. And he doesn't bother going to any kind of vigil at all on October the 7th, the second anniversary. What's wrong with him?
It's really bad, and he should be there. And the reason he should be there is, we had a terrorist attack against a synagogue in Manchester only a few days ago. And the point is, if the government steps in and says, hang on, or the Prime Minister, the leader of this country, steps in and says, you know, I'm in solidarity with the Jewish community against against that
He claims
attack.
he's going to protect them, doesn't he?
And he's going to protect
And he
them.
wasn't even seen in the Jewish community.
And he didn't go to. He didn't hold. You know, David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister, had to take the heckling. It should have been Keir Starmer taking the heckling at that.
Totally.
You know, taking the hits from the Jewish community on that.
Yeah.
And he didn't go up, and he didn't. And the point is that if he does go and he does stand with the Jewish community, at least that provides some leadership, so that we all know which. But he doesn't want to do that, of course, because the danger is that he'll get. There's a political judgment somewhere deep down there, isn't there, that he doesn't want to go.
Well, he's clearly he's taken the view, I'm not going to be seen anywhere. He's speaking India at the moment, Keir Starmer. We're going to cross to him in a moment. I think we can probably look at it now. We can't quite hear it. Or can we hear it? No, it's just an echo. It sounds like he's talking into a bottle. Yeah, which is probably just as well. Don't really want to hear what he's got to say anyway. We'll come back though. 22 minutes past 6. This is Morning Glory. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 25 minutes past 6. It is Wednesday, the 8th of October. Theo Usherwood is here. Let's talk about Robert Jenrick, because it's Tory Party conference, which again, I don't know if you made it up there, but it looked pretty ghastly. I mean, we talked to quite a few people who were there yesterday. Mel Stride, I think we spoke to on Monday. He made his speech with a lot of fire and brimstone, but as they sort of panned around the conference hall, you could see that there wasn't that many people there, and it wasn't actually very well attended. Similarly, yesterday, Robert Jenrick made it, what I thought was a pretty good speech. He was on with us yesterday. The Guardian released this sort of leaked audio, which we've got here, in which he basically talks about going to Birmingham, in Handsworth, a particular region of Birmingham, and not seeing any white faces. Let's have a quick listen to that.
In Birmingham the other day to do a video on litter, and it was absolutely appalling. It's as close as I've come to a slum in this country. But the other thing that I noticed there was that it was one of the worst integrated places that I've ever been to. In fact, in the hour and a half that I was filming with news there, I didn't see another white face. And that's not the kind of country I want to live in. I want to live in a country where people are properly integrated. It's not about the colour of your skin or your faith. Of course it isn't. But I want people to be living alongside each other, not parallel lives. That's not the right way we want to live as a country.
And of course, as you would expect, this morning it's on the front page of The Guardian. Jenrick accused of fueling toxic nationalism after race remarks. And guess who's accused him of toxic nationalism? David Lammy, Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Secretary. He says Jenrick is judging people based on the colour of their skin. He's not, actually. He's just saying, I didn't see any white people in a region of Britain which is 86% white, which tells you that there's a problem in some areas of Britain, because they're not 86% white, they're not even 46% white, they're not white at all. And so basically Zach Polanski, the Green Party leader, said it was racism. We spoke to Robert Jenrick yesterday, we had him on the show, and he quite happily justified what he said. Have a look.
Yeah, well, I don't resile from those comments at all, and obviously it was The Guardian who stuck them out there.
Of course.
We want to live in a country which is well integrated, where people are living side by side. We don't want segregated pockets of our towns and cities. We don't want ghettos in this country. I want my kids to be growing up alongside their fellow Brits of all skin colours and faiths. And I'm afraid that hasn't happened in recent years. This is a problem that's got worse in my lifetime, not better. In the last 20 years, there have been at least 6 major reports into the integration failures of our country, including by very, very prominent people like Baroness Louise Casey. People don't do anything about it. And then you've got these left-wing politicians, the Labour Party today, journalists like at The Guardian, coming down on people and trying to shut down the debate, labelling them as racist, the same old story, trying to stop people talking about this issue. And I'm afraid at the extremes, this takes the country down a very dark path. Here in Manchester, just last week, you saw a man who'd lived in this country for 30 years, clearly was not integrated, did not share British values, go to a local mosque and kill British Jews. That is where a failure of integration goes in the end. So we've got to have this debate. I'm not backing down. I'm not going to be cowed. That's not my way. I'm going to make sure we keep talking about this.
He's making quite a name for himself at conference, actually, Robert Jenrick, much more so than Kemi Badenoch is, who's not making really any impact at all. I think she's speaking... Is she speaking?
She's speaking today.
Today?
Yeah, she was
on the final day.
About her new fiscal...
But again, it's kind of after the Lord Mayor's show. I know that they wait until the last sort of speech of the week for the Prime Minister, or the Prime Minister in waiting, if you like, or the leader to speak. But really, I don't think anybody cares what she has to say.
No. I think it feels a little bit like sometimes some newspapers, we just all need to catch up a bit.
Yeah.
Like, when I've been out, and I spend quite a lot of time outside of London now, the Tory party's dead.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, just doesn't...
A lot of people at conference that I'm speaking to, a lot of journalists who are up there saying it feels like it's dead.
It's dead.
Like there's no money, there's no sponsors. You know, you go to a fringe meeting and there's no drink because nobody's buying it for you. You know, it's all a bit kind of just nothing.
And you saw that attempt by Boris Johnson at a sort of comeback when he did that interview with Harry Cole. And he came back and he sounded like, he sounded as if he'd been sort of reincarnated as a centrist dad.
Yeah.
He was sort of making the argument for, legal migration hitting 900,000, 900,000 under his watch. And it's if there was one person that could save the Conservative Party, I'd have thought it'd be Boris Johnson.
But of course, the reaction, funnily enough, to that interview with Harry Cole, certainly from my audience, was we don't want him back.
Yes, precisely.
He's not the guy anymore.
No,
time has passed. He's had his time. He's gone.
Precisely that.
Yeah.
Precisely that. He came back and he lasted about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
He's not. He seems to be in his head that he's fighting Jeremy Corbyn in 2019. He's not.
Right.
Nigel Farage is a much bigger.
Totally.
Is completely taken over from any political space that he occupies.
It's almost like they're no longer on the stage and they're kind of peering from behind the curtain, wondering who's on the stage and why everybody's applauding.
But I see these stories of Kemi Badenoch setting out her golden rule to cut spending and borrowing.
Nobody cares.
Kemi trust me to put the UK's economy back on track.
Yeah.
And it's that.
Yeah.
No, you're irrelevant. And all of these articles, all these stories, are predicated on the view that Kemi Badenoch can be Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Which is for the birds.
So far away from reality.
Go out and just go to Kent, go to Yorkshire, go to any county.
Right.
And you will not find a single man or woman who thinks that Kemi Badenoch will be Prime Minister.
I mean,
why pretend?
We're doing a story later on, I think this morning, with Richard Tice, where I think something like 23 Conservative councillors defected yesterday to reform, like overnight. 23.
And they just dripped them out.
Yeah. And there's meant to be another big announcement supposedly coming, we're told, before Kemi Badenoch speaks today, which could be another sort of big-wig Tory. And I know some Reform voters are not keen on that, but Nigel's playing it quite cleverly because he's saying, well, listen, if there's somebody that we think is able to do a good job for us and who is on our side, and I think Robert Jenrick will eventually go because he's bound to, then it strengthens Reform's case ever more. Let's have a look at Kemi Badenoch yesterday being interviewed by Beth Rigby from Sky and getting a bit rattled about Farage.
Nigel Farage is a politician.
On what basis?
Do you admire him?
I don't understand your question.
Well, it's just an open question. What do you think of him?
Why aren't you asking if I admire Keir Starmer or Ed Davey?
Well, I asked Keir Starmer about whether he admired Nigel Farage as well.
And I think it's very interesting that a lot of the media in Westminster is very interested about asking about Nigel Farage. I'm not interested in Nigel Farage. I'm interested in... I'm not interested in talking about Nigel Farage. You tell me that people aren't interested in me. I'm on your show. Ask me about what I think. You spend most of the interview asking about reform. Reform's already had their conference
Is it making you cross that I'm doing this? Because you seem irritated.
No, it isn't. I just think that your viewers want to know what I'm off.
Oh dear.
She was hopeless.
What's the point of, why wouldn't you just say, no, I don't admire him, I don't think he's doing the right thing for the country, or I do admire him, I think he's an amazing politician, I don't agree with any of his views. Why would you get stuck in the weeds like that and go, I don't want to talk about him? I've told you not to ask me about him, I don't want to talk about reform, all you do is ask me about reform. It doesn't look good, does it?
It's hopeless. And I don't even feel sorry for... some poor, hapless Conservative press officer who would have been expected to brief an answer for what do you admire Nigel Farage?
Right.
You've just got to have the chops as the leader of the opposition.
Say what you think.
To say what you think, exactly. Right. And as you say, you can go either way. You can say, yes, I admire him, but I don't think he's the right person to lead the country. No, I don't admire him because I think he's done this, and this that's wrong. But I accept that he's made some good points.
She was looking there like a woman who was asked about her ex-husband. You know?
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you admire your ex-husband? Well, how dare you ask me that question? Yeah, we're divorced, for heaven's sake. I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not very clever, is it?
But she's, you know, she's not. I don't think there's a point. I know there've been a couple of moments where she's had a good Prime Minister's questions, and people have said, OK, they saw her as the next big hope for the Conservative Party. But in truth, she's not at any stage.
She's not there yet, is she?
She's not going to get a chance to get there.
No.
I think that's the point.
No.
And this sort of pretense that everybody's playing along, like we're going to go and write up, you know, friendly stories about the Conservative Party, like.
And also the other thing that I think they've got massively wrong is this kind of wait and see attitude that they've got, where they go, just wait and see what our policy is going to be on that, and everyone's gone, nah, you're fine. Yeah. They just go over there because we're not interested. It's like, just tell us now, or just don't worry about it.
Yeah,
you know,
it's literally
we're actually only really being polite to ask you.
But for Conservative councillors, this is literally a problem because they're going out on the doorstep, knock on the door. Hi, I'm the local Conservative councillor. I was elected, and they've
shut the door.
And it's like, okay, well, yeah, they could either just go bang, shut the door, and they've got the door up against their face, or they say, okay, what do you stand for? Well, Kemi hasn't made a decision.
Yeah, when we're going to announce that soon. It's coming up in the autumn.
But then they get, 2 minutes later, they get the reform guy turning up, or reform woman turning up, going, this is what Nigel Farage is going to do.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that sounds sensible. I'll do that then.
Yeah. Absolutely right.
You know.
Now I'm going to play this to you just because I like you and you're going to enjoy this. This is Democratic California Governor candidate Katie Porter having a bit of a meltdown when asked a question that she didn't like from a journalist.
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered our follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
reporter. I have never had to do this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you, and I don't want this all on camera.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either.
Unhappy experience. Brilliant. This is a new thing, right? And I've noticed that several people have now said it in government. I saw, who was it that was, I think it was Peter Carl that did it at the weekend. Somebody else did it. Rachel Reeves did it on Good Morning Britain. I'm not going to answer that question because if I answer it, you're just going to ask me another question. And you're kind of going, well, that's what an interview is about, people asking you questions and you answering them. This new kind of trend where politicians are going, I don't want to answer those questions, you're being unfair, is like, what's going on with that? Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I haven't. Funnily enough, I was just sort of thinking about this in terms of watching sporting events.
Right.
And you have athletes now, or tennis players, or people say, it's just too much competition.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a break for a year or so, and I'll come back, look after and then I'm going to go again.
Right.
And the reason, let's just make no bones about it, right? The reason that they're doing it is because they don't have the answers.
Yeah.
If you have the answers and you're confident in what you're trying to achieve, then and what you're saying, then that's not a problem.
Right. Exactly.
And you've done so many interviews, Mark. I also imagine, from your point of view, if you're interviewing Kemi Badenoch's coming on your show.
She's not coming on apparently at the moment because her people told us that she's not coming on. So I had Robert Jenrick on yesterday. I said, would you mind telling Kemi Badenoch, to if she wants to get anywhere, she needs to come and talk to us.
Yeah, but why isn't she coming on?
Yeah, I don't know.
What's there to? I mean, you're not that bad.
I'm really not. But I mean, none of the Labour government will come on. I mean, we had the ludicrous sort of spectacle last week of Labour ministers only agreeing to come onto my show if they could speak through an interpreter who happened to be the political editor of The Sun, Jack Elsom. So they would speak to Jack Elsom on our camera, right? But I wasn't allowed to ask them any questions, as if I'm like Hannibal Lecter or something. It was bizarre. I was like, what's going on here?
But if they're confident in themselves and in what in their arguments and what they're saying and what they want to do for this country, then they can come and they can have an argument with you, and they can win that argument.
Of course.
And
that's the prize is to make me look stupid, or to shut me down, or to go, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just sitting there on your fat backside as some kind of radio pundit. We are actually dealing with real problems here. We're dealing with real issues, and so you can shut the hell up, and we'll tell you what we're doing. That's what I would do.
Yeah, but tell me also if I'm wrong. And having worked in this business for a long time, you're a bit like a shark. You smell blood.
Yeah.
Right? So if you think somebody is just trying to fob you off or talking cobblers,
and they do a lot,
and then you go for them.
Yeah, of course.
I've seen your interviews. You give them a go.
Yeah.
Right? Have a go at answering this question.
Yeah.
And if that person answers that question, they have something straightforward and a common sense answer, reasonably truthful answer, you give them the benefit of the doubt and you go on your way and you do an interview. But it does happen, I'd imagine, once, twice, 3 times a day, you'll get a politician who comes on your show and they try and hoodwink you, or more importantly,
they don't answer the question.
Or they're trying to hoodwink your listeners.
Exactly.
And your job as a journalist is to say, no, let's go back on that point, please. I'd like you to answer that question. Or is that really what you think? Because I don't think that's the view of my viewers or listeners.
My duty is to the people who take the time to listen to this show and to watch this show. My duty is to them, not to the bleeding government, not to anybody I'm interviewing, right? And not even to you. My role is to get from whoever I'm talking to the truth, so that they can see and judge what they want to make of that person.
And the prize is that more people come to this radio station to listen to your show because they think that actually they get something that aligns with their own political views and that they can make sense of the world on any given moment.
And I mean, a good example actually is this Robert Jenrick story, because yesterday you should have seen the way that Sky was treating it, the way that the BBC was treating it, the way that ITV was treating it, literally as though Robert Jenrick was the new Adolf Hitler, because he'd happened to have an observation about not seeing any white faces in Handsworth, which, according to a piece that I was just reading in The Guardian, is 9% white. Right?
Yeah.
Now, in a country that's 86% white, I would say that's an anomaly. I would say that is a ghetto. I would say that is an unusual situation. And so he was quite right to call it out and to say, I didn't see any white faces. And the reason he didn't see any white faces is because it's only 9% white. And that's a town, a section of Birmingham, one of the biggest, the second city of Britain, right? And it's got something like a tenth of the general population.
So I listened. I thought your interview with him, by the way, was very good. The interview you did subsequently, and my own view on this is that the colour. The point he's making about values is the most important point. And that if you go down, you just see what happened yesterday outside one of the universities in London with those pro-Palestine protests on a day when the Jewish community is grieving. That those aren't our values, and we're seeing that increasingly now. Not just those pro-Palestine marches, we're seeing it across the board. And I think there's a for me, that is where the problem is. I think the colour of your skin is irrelevant. I think the really important point is the values you hold in what you believe Britain to be and what you believe Britain should be and should become. And I think the language,
and also what you're contributing to Britain.
What you're contributing to this country and what you're giving this country, not just what you're taking out of this country. And if you don't align, we're going to fall apart really quickly. Things are going to unravel really fast if we can't agree that crossing a border of a sovereign country, capturing 250 people, taking them hostage, killing another 1,200, including grandmothers, women, fathers, children, that is abhorrent. And we don't stand for that. If we can't agree on something as basic as that, because what started with a synagogue last week is a shopping centre the next week. That's how it works. I've seen this play out time and time again.
Or a stadium.
Or a stadium. It will affect us. I know those who work, and they've long been contacts of mine, those who work to protect the Jewish community in this country, right? And they often see themselves, and I don't like using these sort of phrases, but the Jewish community is often the canary in the coal mine. That's where it comes. That's where it goes first, right? And then it will affect us all. So we're going to have. And my real fear in this country is we would have a terrorist attack like what we saw on July the 7th, 2005. And I remember reading Jeremy Clarkson's column in The Sun after that, and he said, do you know what I'd do with those terrorists? I'd feed them into a ham slicer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, this is, you know, this is like, these are our, you know, let's be clear about what our values are. And my fear is that I hope I've commented, it's so long ago reading this, but I always remember reading this, is that the country was behind that view, that everybody, no matter what your race, religion, creed, colour of your skin, like, terrorism is abhorrent. But my real fear is that if you have people going out on a march on the day a terrorist attack happens at a synagogue and saying, I don't really care about the Jewish community, what happens if tomorrow it's a Westfield?
Yeah, exactly.
Or what happens if it's a marauding attack through the streets of London or Birmingham? And suddenly, what are we going to, you know, for people, perfectly innocent people, are we going to then have a debate? Are we going to have a march saying, well, actually, there was some justification?
I know.
You remember that Jihadi John?
Yeah.
And the cage statement afterwards, you're a beautiful young man, and the revulsion that came after that. My concern about this country and the values that are held in this country is that if there was another Jihadi John who went around beheading people in Syria, posting the videos on the internet, then actually, yes, you'd have normal, common sense people like your listeners and like a proportion of the country. But my real concern is now there's a rump that would say, yeah, but what have we done? What have we done to do? You know, I thought we brought this on ourselves.
It's absolutely unbelievable. This is a very, very good point that you make there. We've just got to rush off because we're running terribly late. It's 6:45. Theo Usherwood's here with me. We'll talk more about this coming next. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:48. I'm Mike Graham. Morning, Mike. A great show. I think Kemi didn't want to talk about Nigel because she knows he's the national political focus of the centre-right and the right, not the Conservatives. I think that's true. And Stuart says the vast majority of British people do not want to live in a street full of people with a different culture and religion. They want to live next to people of their own culture and religion. Hence, they move out and more of the others move in, and you get what we have now. And I think that's the problem with a lot of parts of the country. And again, it's not a racist view to say that, because there are plenty. I mean, we had a woman in here whose name I can't remember, who was on The Apprentice, a Muslim commentator who's been in a couple of times on the show, and she basically said, you know, there are Muslim ghettos in this country, and the sooner we recognise that and the sooner we try and fix that, the better, because you can't have areas of Birmingham or areas of Bradford or areas of Manchester where there are simply no white people and it's not even about colour, it's about a religion. You know, there are Sharia laws going on, there are women being subjugated, there are, you know, lifestyles being sort of, shall we say, administered to people which are not British. It's as simple as that. And it's not Britain anymore.
It works. You know, Britain is a diverse country, and it works best when you have community, when people are, when it's mixed.
When it's mixed,
I think also
nobody minds multiculturalism. People like multiculturalism. People like. I mean, I certainly am quite happy to walk down the street and run into people speaking Italian, Spanish, you know, Hindi, Urdu. I don't care, but make it normal. But
what I think what has become lost, Mike, and this is my bigger concern, is we've lost an identity of what it means to be, of what our values are, of what it means to be British.
Yes. Yeah, because in those ghettos, you don't get a sense of Britishness. You get a sense of a foreign entity taking over. That's what people feel.
But you shouldn't have people. You shouldn't be able to be elected by campaigning for your stance on Palestine.
Exactly right.
You're elected on can you deliver? And this is what's happened. You know, particularly.
But that's one of the biggest problems that we've currently got. We've got 4 politicians in Parliament who are independents, who were elected purely and simply because of their views on Palestine, and that can't be right.
But you're quoting here Zach Polanski, who was critical of Robert Jenrick. You had a councillor, I think it's the deputy leader now of the Green Party. Yeah. You know, who when he was elected shouted "Free Palestine." Yeah. But actually, I think he's elected up in the north in Leeds. You know, what about, you know, if you're going to be running services up in Leeds, you're concentrating on the services that you are responsible for, that you are holding the purse strings of some millions of pounds, sometimes billions of pounds in budget for. That's why you are elected to that particular position. If you want to stand and represent Palestine, go to Palestine.
Yeah, right.
Go and see how you know.
They don't have elections there, though, do they?
No.
It's not really that easy to stand in Palestine.
Yeah, you know, or you know, go and but concentrate. And too often, political parties have a piece of street. I'm happy. Have a Muslim councillor, have a Muslim mayor, have a Muslim MP. But what?
And let them represent the Muslim community in that region, but let's not have the Muslim community become the only community. That's the point.
And concentrate on what those services are in your community that people need, regardless of their race, religion, creed, or whatever, so that they're getting the best. And how are you spending taxpayers' money? And how are you getting value for money? Are you wasting it? Are you spending too much money on taxes or expenses? Well, you know, deliver the policies, because
do the job.
But precisely, and all we're doing at the moment is signalling. We're electing people, signalling on their political, you know, stance on a conflict that's taking place 3,000 miles away and has no bearing on what's happening on the ground in this country. And if we lose sight of that, what have we become?
I know, exactly.
What are we going to get done?
Exactly, absolutely right. We're going to take another break. Quick voice note from Laura on China.
Morning, Mike. Laura in Wiltshire. This China Jonathan Powell story really, really stinks. And the fact that the CPS have come out to brief against number 10 is interesting. But that slippery sod's just gone off to India, probably to do one of his dastardly clever deals and give away more visas and whatever else he can think of. Anyway, looking forward to the show. Let's do it.
Laura, thank you very much indeed. Very well said. Of course, there's a big problem in the UK. How do you know? Because Keir Starmer's left the country. 6:53. Welcome back to Morning Glory. 6:57. Blimey, the news has ratcheted up. US delays over the government shutdown. That's one story. The Revolut billionaire quits Britain. This is, you know how the left are always saying, yeah, it's all rubbish that people are leaving Britain. Well, here's one that's not rubbish. Revolut's billionaire chief executive has quit London for the United Arab Emirates, joining the growing exodus of wealthy entrepreneurs from the UK. Nikolai Staronsky, the founder of the £56 billion giant, one of Britain's richest men, has moved to the Gulf state, according to his filing for his family office. So Rachel Reeves, I'm afraid, has lost another massive taxpayer who would have been paying probably millions of pounds in tax, I would imagine.
Yeah, we need these people. We may not, you know, you can make whatever argument you like, but we need these people to be based here in this country.
Yeah.
If you know, I know Farage has made this point previously, but you know, these people have the ability to go and shop in the most expensive and luxurious shops, stay in the nicest hotels, buy the biggest flats, and all of those things come with huge amounts of tax.
Yeah. And somebody was saying the other day that one of the problems, I think it was a column I read, it was actually Giles Corrin, I think, in the Times, writing about the demise of the department store, because, you know, the government has done away with the VAT exemption for foreigners, and so, I mean, I'm in and out of Selfridges quite a lot because I happen to go, I go there a couple of times a week to go to the gym over there, and there's so many foreigners and so many, like Arabs in particular, walking up and down Oxford Street, but they're not buying as much stuff as they used to buy, because they're not exempt from VAT anymore. No. And so Rachel Reeves has been urged to give them that back, to bring them all back to Britain. Yeah. You know,
and if they're not going to stay, you know, yes, you get the VAT back, but then they'll spend money in other areas where there is tax to be.
Well, they'll go to Paris, or they'll go to Munich, or they'll go to another Madrid.
We need these people to come to this country and spend money in this country, because then that supports everything, all the other things that we want.
Exactly, that is the problem. One final one, because we've only got about 30 seconds left. Apparently you can't call anybody a nutter anymore.
Yes, I saw this.
This is on page 25 of The Sun. There's been an employment tribunal where calling particularly a colleague a nutter, I mean, you'd never do that, would you? Could be harassment, and apparently a term may be found liable under employment law for creating an unpleasant and hostile environment. I don't often call people nutters, and I certainly don't call people that I work with nutters, but I do call people who demonstrate on the streets nutters.